two-time Emmy winner Claire Foy is emotionally raw in this incredible movie, H is for Hawk. I want to know, what is this movie about that people need to know?
Congratulations on your Oscar, by the way.
Thank you. You have
Well
two
done.
Emmys, so we'll call it even.
Okay, you can have one of them.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the question?
Talk to us. What's the kind of synopsis of this movie that
Okay.
people need to know about?
So this is the story of Helen Macdonald, who's a real person whose father died very, very suddenly and tragically, and as a way of continuing to live, they decide to train a goshawk called Mabel.
And this goshawk, what was it like forming that relationship with him? Those are my favorite scenes in the movie. Just, it's a beautiful creature, but then you kind of learn more that they're not very affectionate, but you form this incredibly beautiful relationship on screen with the goshawk.
Yeah, I mean, that was that, I have never done any falconry in my life. So I had to learn to be a falconer, which was incredible and quite difficult. And then I had to create this bond with these beautiful birds, which is what Helen did. So it was sort of a pilgrimage to Helen, really, the whole experience. And I did fall in love with my Mabels and became what I felt was quite in tune with them and what they wanted and needed and how they worked. And yeah, really surprising experience to have.
Beautiful creatures. And how much did you rely on Helen as the author of the book?
I didn't really. I think that Helen had already provided me with everything I possibly could need to know in their memoir. It's like searingly honest and very, very raw and open, and nothing is left, nothing is kept back from the reader. So there was nothing that present day Helen I needed to kind of ask them. The only thing I wanted to do was kind of thank them and respect what we were about to do and how generous that is to let us do that.
Can't wait to talk to Helen about that relationship as well. And Brendan Gleeson, I mean, that's the tragedy that you're kind of grieving the death of your father. What was that like forming that relationship with him? Because we see a lot of the character movement in flashbacks are kind of futuristic scenes.
I mean, like one of the greatest joys of my career. I've admired him for ever and ever and ever. And he's just as you imagine him to be, so warm-hearted and just really deep as a human being, and it really comes across in all his performances. So I didn't have to do any work really. I was already totally like I don't want to say fangirling because that sounds weird, but I was totally in awe of him anyway. And I feel like that did mirror Helen's relationship with their father in the sense that he was a brilliant, wonderful, kind man, and so is Brendan.
Going through this grieving process, I always ask questions of this when it's a movie like this about grief. How do you get yourself to go to that place? Do you base it on past experiences? Do you just read the source material? What is your process like?
Yeah, I don't really use emotional substitution as an actor. I don't find it helpful. I'm, you know, I find Helen's experience incredibly moving. I also, it's a universal experience. So as a human being, I've experienced loss myself. And so, when a story and a script are as they should be, then there's not really much I need to do. I just need to be present and be open to what's going to happen and be prepared. So yeah, I don't use any emotional substitution at all.
Unsurprising, another terrific performance from Claire Foy. H is for Hawk in theaters January 23rd. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, and congrats again.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Director Philippa Lowthorpe, Helen Macdonald. Helen, this movie, H is for Hawk, first of all, is the movie we're talking about. How did you know you wanted this to become a book and then later a movie? How did you know you wanted to share your story with the world?
I just thought there was a story in what happened to me. I lost my dad. I decided to train a hawk as a way of dealing with it. I don't recommend that to anyone. It's a terrible idea, but it was a really peculiar way of falling off the world and finding my way back home again with this hawk by my side. And I knew it was a great story. And I wrote the book thinking no one would read it. And it took off. It was incredible and surprising. And then I was really happy for someone else to pick up that story and make it into a movie. I just thought, I've told the story the way I want to tell it, and now it's someone else's turn to have a go.
And that's where Philippa comes in. How did you get involved in telling the story? Because it is such a wonderful, beautiful, raw story that has so much heart to it.
Oh, absolutely. I was so lucky to be invited into the team H is for Hawk by Dee Dee Gardner, the producer, and come on this journey. And my own dad had passed away not that long before. And so when I read Helen's memoir, it spoke to me in an incredibly profound way. And I thought, what a privilege to bring this story to another audience, all of whom, or some of whom, would have experienced that loss. And there's something very lovely about getting together in a cinema with other people and not having to explain yourself and just watch Helen's story unfold before you and see that you can actually emerge from that darkness and have that sense of hope and love at the end of it too.
Really is so much hope to this. And I mean, having Claire Foy play you in a movie, I mean, I love Olivia Colman, I love Imelda Staunton, but Claire Foy is my favorite version of Queen Elizabeth and the Crown. Helen, what was that like when you found out she was going to play you in this movie adaptation?
Well, of course, I kept going and saying, "Oh, I'm going to be played by the Queen, darling." No, I mean, I knew she was an extraordinary actor. You know, I hadn't really thought about how physically she could sort of, in this extraordinary chameleon way, she just became me. It was a haunting. The first time I saw her on set, I completely freaked out. You know, there she was walking along wearing my clothes, looking exactly like me, walking like me, holding a hawk like me. You know, it was so weird. I actually put my hand out and grabbed hold of the brick wall of my college, and I just wanted to make sure it was still real. It's an extraordinary performance, and I'm also really grateful to Claire for having this intuitive ability to be a truly great falconer. She's incredible with the birds as well.
And I love the birds. Those scenes between her and the goshawk are my favorite scenes. Philippa, what was it like filming those scenes, bringing these majestic birds that maybe aren't so as sympathetic or as affectionate as you would think? They're not like dogs, they're not like cats, but they're beautiful creatures. What was it like filming those scenes?
Oh, it was an incredible honor again. I mean, when you bring a goshawk onto set, they are like gods. We made everybody move out of the way. All the crew had to go upstairs. We made it almost like a closed set, really. And just to put the camera upon those beautiful creatures was absolutely incredible. And then later, the hunting scenes that we did were so exciting to film. Our lovely hawk trainer, Lloyd, had trained his 2 action hawks to fly with little tiny drones next to them and get those incredible shots, and our fantastic wildlife cameraman to get the other shots. It's so exciting to be able to do that.
Helen, thank you for bringing your story to life. Philippa, thank you for bringing it to the world for all to see. H is for Hawk in theaters January 23rd. Thank you both so much for your time.
Thank
Thank
you.